people are obsessed about eating clean. And like the thing is, if we go based on Weight Watchers and Slimming World, in fact, they have this process where they give you sins for certain foods. And the foods that you can eat as much as you want of tend to be the clean foods, such as potatoes, and I think it's pastas in there as well.
Pasta is a completely sin-free food.
Which means you can eat as much as you want, which is completely bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I think it's silly, mate. The amount of people that I have come to me regarding this Slimming World side of things, and I think Slimming World's about, what, 60 quid a month, something like that people pay for to go to Slimming World and have them turn around and say, you should eat a cleaner diet. But a lot of the people, and some coaches there at Slimming World might know their shit, but a lot of people who go in do not understand the basics of nutrition to turn around and give people advice. All they do is clap their hands if someone's starting to lose weight, and that's normally just because they have genuinely cut out so many things in people's diet.
Welcome back to the Perform Well podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better.
Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about why you shouldn't eat clean. Why should you not eat clean? I mean, this is one of those big topics, Dan, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge. The end of the industry, you see so many videos online, so many things that go out on TikTok, Instagram, all the shenanigans, talking about why eating clean is the kind of, it's the kind of mandatory way forward to see fat loss at the end of the day. And I think we've spoken to a lot of our clients and a lot of the people that we work with in the past in big companies. And sometimes it can even be seen as an unsustainable way, I argue, of seeing people seeing long-term results.
People are obsessed about it. Like, if you're listening in, people are obsessed about eating clean. And like the thing is, if we go based on Weight Watchers and Slimming World, in fact, they have this process where they give you sins for certain foods. And the foods that you can eat as much as you want of tend to be the clean foods, such as potatoes, and I think it's pastas in there as well.
Pasta is a completely sin-free food.
Which means you can eat as much as you want, which is completely bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I think it's silly, mate. The amount of people that I have come to me regarding this Slimming World side of things, and I think Slimming World's about, what, 60 quid a month, something like that people pay for to go to Slimming World and have them turn around and say, you should eat a cleaner diet. But a lot of the people, and some coaches there at Slimming World might know their shit, but a lot of people who go in do not understand the basics of nutrition to turn around and give people advice. All they do is clap their hands if someone's starting to lose weight, and that's normally just because they have genuinely cut out so many things in people's diets that they actually see the enjoyment. Because at the end of the day, food is an emotional thing. This is why so many people emotionally eat. This is why so many people struggle with the kind of emotional ties that we have to food, and why restrictive dieting doesn't work. If I took away your favorite toy as a kid, you'd get quite upset, and it works the same way with food at the end of the day.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, I mean, when my toy got taken away as a kid, when I finally turned into a man, I got socks for Christmas, and it was absolutely horrible experience.
That's liberty now, mate. You haven't got to go into Primark and deal with the waves of people. I'm just saying you can get free socks at Christmas, and I actually quite enjoy that. I feel like that is just
I'm certain that every man in this world has a hole in their boxes, and once a year they get new ones, and they just wear those. That's my theory.
Sometimes it depends where the hole is, though, because sometimes it can be very uncomfortable and very revealing, and we don't need to.
Well, it's even worse when you have a hole in other areas. But we are. What is that, mate? Anonymous chameleon. Sorry, I just completely saw something pop up on my screen. Then is that you?
No, it's not. Well, am I anonymous? Oh, yeah, maybe it is.
Okay, for those who are listening, we do have a podcast document up. That's how we run these things. And Dan right now is typing on it.
Am I?
Yeah.
Can you see that, yeah?
Yeah, stop that.
Why am I called Anonymous Chameleon? That's my code name. I love that.
This way we can chat whilst you guys listen and you don't know what we're talking about. Anyway.
We're just typing.
So yeah, obviously we're talking about why you shouldn't eat clean. Now this is controversial because obviously we are not saying you should eat crap food all the time. We are saying that to lose weight and to be healthy, sometimes eating clean can be detrimental. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, Dan, what's one way do you reckon that is detrimental, man? Let's educate the listeners.
Detrimental. I mean, if we're talking in the context of dieting, you go down the route of, as I just spoke about, restrictive eating. Restrictive eating is one of the number one causes for people not staying consistent with diets, and one of the number one causes for people not seeing the results at the end of the day they want to see. A lot of people reduce their calories down, and I was speaking to someone the other day who had done the old classic reduce their calories down, surpassing 1,000 calories a day to try and lose weight by cutting out bread, by cutting out chocolate, by cutting out, pasta, anything like that. But then I turned around to them and I said, how consistent have you been with that diet? And they said, I could do it for 2 weeks, but then I start to lose interest. I'm like, you start to lose interest because you take the things out of it that you love. So when it comes down to it, one thing that we need to encompass into it is, again, our nutritional profiles of foods, and not forgetting that a lot of the foods that you tend to cut out have high nutritional densities. So for example, bread, fantastic, and Nick enlightened me to this. Bread has more protein than a lot of us seem to think. So it has a good little nutritional profile to back up the side of things whenever we need to focus on the diet side of things. But, we're always going to come through a world where people turn around as soon as they gain or hold on to a little bit of weight, they cut out the things they love.
I saw a video the other day where it compared two different food items. One was a sandwich and one was a salad. And the salad had more calories than the sandwich. And from the outside perspective, you think, right, I'm eating clean, I'm eating a bowl of salad. I've got tomatoes in there, I've got the salad leaves, obviously that's all low calorie stuff. And then you've got avocado, you've got olive oil being drizzled on top of it. And 9 times out of 10, to make it taste better, most people put more oil and avocado and all those high fat stuff that they need. So now you have food that, yes, it's clean on paper, it's whole-based food and potentially nutrient dense. However, you've now got food that's potentially going to take you over your weight loss goals in terms of calorie deficit and stuff. So eating clean is not the be-all end-all. However, caveat to that, obviously, there is a benefit with eating clean most of the time. And I think we could both agree, Dan, and those listening, that nutrient density is important.
100%. 100%. I mean, we talk a lot on it. There was a video I did a while back which was talking about a really easy rundown of all the different nutrients that you're going to need into a diet. And as I say, 80% of the time, if you're eating the things you need to eat, for example, say we're going to have a diet that we've got a meal in there, sweet potato, chicken and broccoli, we get really good nutrient profile from that. But then with the 20% of the time, we can add stuff in like Nutella because we enjoy Nutella and we want that to feed what we're having. The nutritional density isn't great in Nutella. We all know this. It's fantastic after a workout, gives us a little bit of a sugar spike. But if you're polishing off jar on jar on jar, then I'm sorry to say it, but you're never going to see the nice results and happy and healthy life that you want to see. Actually, it probably make you feel quite sick at the end of the day. But yeah, nutritional density is that number one topic that people probably watching this podcast. A lot of people won't know much about nutritional density and why it's important. Just always remember you need a baseline of carbs, fats, protein in your diet. That's your foundations. Once you've got your foundations in place, you can start to look at your micronutrients. So you add in your veggies, you add in your fruit, you add in your water, you add in your fiber. We look at areas like that as it comes through. And then you can add in your supplements to plug the holes that you're missing. For example, add a multivit in there if you feel like you're not getting enough, vitamin D. That's the way I like to look at it. And it is a trial and error thing with diets. We can't always expect the same diet to work, which is why, in my opinion, Slimming World does not work for a lot of people because it is a plug and play diet, but it's a plug and play diet where they say, these are the things you can eat and these are the things you can't eat. These things have to go completely. And as you're saying on the calorie front there, we forget about the main metric and main driving force of fat loss at the end of the day, which is calories. And unfortunately, as much as everyone tries to throw different things out there, calories is what drives weight loss. It's what drives fat loss. And 90% of the time you don't see results is just because you're not being consistent with it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, there are foods that can make sticking to a calorie deficit easier. For example, let's just say you do eat nutrient-dense food, and I'm talking in terms of that salad. Take away the avocado, the extra virgin olive oil, make it a little bit less calorie dense. Yes, okay, that would fill your stomach up a little bit more than, say, a sandwich would in some cases. However, that is not always the best thing for you because there's also a mental aspect, and that mental aspect might be a cheese sandwich is the best thing for me right now. And it means that I'm not going to then crave something later on, which is going to be even more calorie dense. And the worst thing is, I think you've seen this, Dan, clients will do really well for 3 or 4 days in the week, normally Monday to Thursday, maybe a little bit Friday as well. And then on the weekend, they absolutely undo all of their hard work because they restrict throughout the week everything that they like. In fact, sometimes they even go under their calories. You give them say 1,600, they go 1,200. And then you talk to them about it and say, don't do that. And they're thinking, no, but this is surely helping me lose weight. And then on the weekend, they don't track anything. They feel really guilty. They go absolutely balls to the wall, binge everything possibly can. Kebabs, Greek food is a big one, I find. They say, oh, because Mediterranean diet is healthy, they think, oh, let's have a shitload of it. And then before you know it, the scale weight exactly the same next week. And then week in, week out, they haven't lost any weight. And they're wondering why.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the Mediterranean diet there, because actually, yes, when people put it in the context of kebabs and stuff, yeah, sure, that is Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is more speaking on a basis of eating, again, that kind of high micronutrient diet where you're eating a lot of grilled veg, a lot of whole foods in a Mediterranean diet as well, a lot of whole foods. Because even thinking a kebab, if you make one at home, a pita, some chicken, and then some salad in there, it's actually a pretty good meal, to be honest, depending on, like, you know, the quality of the pita that you're getting too. So we have to factor those things in whenever we're focusing on a diet. And I'd like to just kind of interject a thing about how the calories don't have to be the same week on week. I know we set calorie goals as a target on a week on week basis, but for example, I've had a client recently who's just undergone surgery. She turned around to me and said, okay, I won't be able to exercise for the next 3 days. But because of the flexibility that we allow in the calories, her calories don't need to change that much to allow her to still continue to lose weight, even though she won't be exercising as much as she was beforehand. You can look to just reduce them about 100 to 200 calories for a couple of weeks while someone recovers, and they will still continue to lose weight over that period of time. Granted, depending on the surgery, sometimes you need to bring up calories. So when you're looking at setting your own calorie goals, which is what we do with our clients, you need to understand that some kind of flexibility needs to be in there to help you adhere to it at the end of the day. Because even if you are going to overspill on a weekend, look at your calories like a bank balance. Bank balance is one of the things that people hate looking at so much, and the same with a calorie tracking target. If you say you're giving yourself like 1,500 calories for the week, 1,500 calories a week, that's very low, 1,500 calories a day, then basically you're saying your normal maintenance is 2,000 calories. You're putting 500 calories or 500 pounds away in savings every single day. And then even if you go to the weekend and you spend 2,000 of those calories over the course of, or 2,000 pounds or 2,000 calories over that weekend, you're still going to be positive by the end of the week. So you're still going to have a little bit left in the bank. That means you're still in a deficit by the end of that period of time. Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month Perform Well program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to learn more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
Now, caveat to obviously all this, intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is something that I'm sure there's a bit of controversy around as well. But when it comes to eating clean, and you've done a lot of tracking in the past, you can intuitively eat based on how your body's feeling and potentially lose weight or maintain your weight and look good and all that stuff. You know, I for example, I haven't tracked for a long time. I mean, recently I started just to kind of see what the numbers were. I haven't tracked for a long time, not really had a problem with gaining loads of fat, etc. Loads of reasons for that. But generally, we want to be tracking our food because it gives us the ability to intuitive eat later on. You can't intuitive eat if you've never tracked before, because you're just going to end up eating whatever you feel like. And whatever you feel like is not, unfortunately, the best thing for you. All right? You know, if you eat based on how I feel right now, I want to go into the fridge and get 2 massive Greek yogurts, pour honey all over it, take the first layer of the Greek yogurt off, put another honey layer on, take the next layer, and I'll do that all the way down until I've had 2,000 calories. And then I'll have everything else on top of that. You know, that's how I feel right now. But I'm not going to do that because I'm sensible and I can intuitively understand that that's going to make me fatter. All right?
What would you say, Nick, would be the longest amount of time someone needs to track for before they can turn around and start to intuitively eat?
It's not about how long, it's about how much commitment you put into it and how much focus you put into it for a period of time. Like, you can't just half-heart it. Like, I think probably 9 times out of 10 when I see people track food is they'll track their lunch, their breakfast, their lunch, and then when it comes to dinner time, they'll eat the dinner and they won't track it. Because at that point in their head, they're thinking, "Oh, I've hit my calorie intake with the food that I've roughly loosely tracked it, should I say, but I haven't put it into the app." And so once they've done that mentally, then they'll probably have a snack afterwards, and then before they know it, they're probably over without knowing it, and then the problem happens. Whereas I did bodybuilding, 18 weeks. I had to literally track every single thing for 18 weeks religiously, including wedding, which is obsessive. Don't do that. Yeah, but that solidified in my head exactly how I feel under certain calorie restrictions, surplus, after different foods. And I'm not perfect. I'll still track every now and then just to have a feel, have a look, see if I'm still on track. But it is important. It is important just to make sure that you are tracking at some point.
I said sometimes as well, for us coaches as well, we almost have a superpower when we look at food now. Like we could probably look at a chicken breast, tell you kind of roughly how much it is, how many calories in it, how much protein you're going to get out of it. And it is in a way that after building up such, and I'd say that's actually a sign of a positive relationship with food at that point in time. I wouldn't say it's a negative relationship with food, because the connotation is that you can literally see how much you're eating on a plate and say, oh, this is kind of roughly around this amount of calories. Obviously, you never know like how much oil if you order food, but it gives you a clear perspective. Now, a lot of the time with clients that I work with, I like to put them on tracking for about 2 weeks, just to get a really good idea of diet. That's for all new signups that come on with me, no matter kind of where their head's been. You know, you guide people through it to show them that it's not a scary process. But I think a lot of the time, as you say, intuitive eating can be very positive for people who have tracked for a long period of time. As we say, we work with a lot of busy people, so 20 minutes sometimes doesn't even exist for them. So them trying to track is very difficult and challenging. What we do kind of want to talk about a little bit more is, when should we be eating clean, though? Going back to that topic of conversation. So, Nick, when is one of the best times to start eating clean, would you say?
I mean, if we're talking of like, just generally, I think you should eat clean regardless of what your situation is. However, it's the amount you eat clean. I don't think there's ever a time you should eat clean and not eat clean. You should eat clean most of the time, and then have processed, ultra high processed, not clean foods. And we all know what not clean food looks like. All right, I'm not going to say it. Everyone should eat clean majority most of the time. All right. I know that sounds like backwards compared to what we talked about in this podcast, but honestly, if you're honestly going to have all your diet as donuts, you might still lose weight. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to feel like shit. And if you want to feel like shit, then go ahead and do it. And you're probably going to lose a lot of muscle mass, and you're probably going to look like crap too. You don't want that.
Well, there was a series. Do you remember the series called Super Size Me?
Yeah, he ate the McDonald's every day.
He ate McDonald's every time, and every time someone turned around, and this is back when when McDonald's was very prevalent on their, oh, do you want that supersized? If ever they turned around and said, oh, do you want that supersized? He would have to supersize the meal. And I think he ended up gaining, I think over the course of like 6 weeks, he ended up gaining about 20 kilos, which is a fucking lot. And he also, on his health markers, he ended up having, I think it was a 20% increase in coronary heart disease. So as Nick's saying there, you're never going to go to that extreme. That's one big experimental side of the scale that is very unlikely to occur in modern day society. However, one of the big caveats, and actually, Nick, it'll be an interesting conversation to have with you. Do you remember a guy called Nick Avocado?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Nick is a very famous YouTuber, and he used to do a lot of mukbangs where he ate all this food. Now, Nick went and lost a lot of weight, and he came back. He also gained a lot of weight. He did both.
Then he lost it.
Then he lost it all. So actually, say you've got someone on that extreme side of the scales, like Nick, not you, Nick, but like Nick, and he has gone down that road. What would you strategize for someone who has had a very, arguably, eating a lot of unclean food and very low nutritional density food for a long period of time? How would you then get someone out of that habit?
Well, for someone like that, I mean, first of all, we're only assuming that most of his diet was unhealthy in terms of like the food that you see him eat on YouTube, because you don't know what he's doing outside of that,
But still, if the quantity's coming in at that, like watching a video.
Well, this is the thing about him, is that, obviously he actually disappeared for a year while still posting those videos. So he always stored these videos in the background, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he was posting these whilst he was getting leaner and healthier. So we don't know
Gotcha.
exactly behind, obviously, what he's doing. But yeah, okay, he gained a lot of weight. So potentially, obviously, majority of his diet was, let's just say, crap in that case. In that case, you would want to obviously start the process of eating clean. But first, we need to know how much he's eating, first of all. You know, you need to assess how many calories are actually coming in this man. Probably a lot, because you're obviously not going to gain that much weight without a lot of calories coming in. So the first thing you want to do is see how many calories are coming in, set some kind of target that is below what he's normally comfortable with. Don't want to go too crazy with this, because otherwise the whole process is going to become difficult. And then it's about not necessarily taking away all that processed food, but choosing the easiest part of the day, potentially breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever, and starting the process of adding some quality foods in there. It's not about changing everything at once. Some people can. Normally, those people have some massive trauma in their life. For example, a cancer patient, you've just been diagnosed with cancer, and your instant reaction is, I don't want to die. So I'm going to do something that's going to change my life. And suddenly you have this radical motivation to do that. Most people don't have that. And that's not a problem. Okay, that's a good thing to not have that problem. But that doesn't mean that you can't then just, change everything at once, like those people can. You have to take a step-by-step approach, build habits over time. Now, Nick Avocado is a great example, by the way. Back to the McDonald's example very quickly. There was a guy who ate McDonald's every day and lost weight.
Yes,
And
there was.
And his health markers improved, which is crazy. And that's not eating Mackie D apple and grapes, by the way. Those little crappy snack packs. He was eating fries, burgers, etc. If you're generally overweight, you can improve your biomarkers just losing weight. Most 9 times out of 10. However, once again, it's still not the most effective way of losing fat fast and feeling good about it. So if your goal is to lose fat fast and feel good, eating clean is important. At least, I think, 8% of the time.
I do think as well, like, if you are wanting a strategy to come away from this video, I would highly advise, and there's something that I find works really well with clients, track your calories for the first 2 weeks. You say you're going to be dedicated to a diet, because I guarantee after you track for 2 weeks, you'll keep tracking after that point in time. Make sure you've done yourself some kind of little 2-week goals to say, okay, by the end of 2 weeks, I want to say lose at least 1 kilo, like something like that. So, you're looking at about 0.5 kilos a week. Because if you give yourself that kind of like 500 calorie reduction, give or take, under your maintenance, is going to be much easier to stick to. And I can guarantee you, if you track for 2 weeks, you look at putting your calories, about 500 calories under your maintenance, and you start to get your general activity up by doing at least 5,000 steps a day, I can almost guarantee you will start to see weight changes and health changes immediately. Again, that's dependent on the position you're in right now. I was having a chat with someone who has recently just signed up with us, and I was chatting to her, and she was like, my diet's all over the place, really struggle with snacking, not healthy, want to get skinny again. And she spoke me through what she does currently. And honestly, I think a lot of people get so scared about where they are now is not in this kind of perfect world that it seems these days. So just give yourself a bit of leeway with stuff, because if you give yourself a bit of leeway, you'll notice. I haven't tracked for a while, much like Nick. I haven't had a reason to. I tracked for a bit when I was doing all my build up to the triathlon, because one, I needed to make sure I was getting the fuel. But at the end of the day, just give yourself a bit of, leeway with stuff like this. Don't give yourself too much stress, because you're only going to backtrack and worry and get concerned and, start going the wrong direction with things as well. So there is one other little buzzword that we do want to discuss, and a lot of people probably heard this, about flexible dieting. Now, flexible dieting, I'll let Nick explain this. What is flexible dieting, Nick?
Well, flexible dieting is the opposite of restriction. So basically you can eat pretty much whatever you want. Normally we say, right, here's your calories, here's your macros, protein, fats and carbs. You can then hit that however you want. It means that if you want to have a donut, you can hit a donut. Say, for example, you wake up in the morning, you have 150 grams of protein in your breakfast, and you've got no protein to hit rest for the rest of the day. It means you can get whatever you want to hit the carbs and fat content. That's basically what it is. Flexibility. Yeah.
Now, the key thing is, I just want to interject in there as well. With flexible dieting, it is the allowance to obviously work through your lifestyle. So if you've got a big wedding coming up, for example, I'm going away to Goa next January, it's the ability to be able to bend what you're doing currently to fit in with your lifestyle as well. The only thing I'll say with flexible dieting is if you are on a flexible diet, you need to keep some baseline of consistency there, which is why setting yourself some like non-negotiable goals with like stuff like protein intake is really important, to say no matter what happens, my protein intake is not going to drop below, for example, 100 grams. You know, just keep setting that standard for yourself week on week, because it's easy to come back to that. If you say, okay, for this week, I'm going to make sure my diet is super clean, super healthy, and I'm going to eat everything, but next week I know I'm going on a holiday, it's going to slip a little bit, but still keep that baseline of protein, it's going to be easier to then bounce back after that holiday. That's not saying to track while you're away. Please, one thing I stand by is never tracking while you're away. Have a week away. How many, like 52 weeks of the year, and, you know, one of them you're away. Go and have a lovely time. But again, the life when you're doing dieting, and this is the big take home for everyone, is dieting is not about giving you solutions. Dieting is understanding there's a premise of trade-offs, and you have to understand that your diet is never going to be 100% perfect. It's going to have a trade-off system. For example, if you like your carbohydrates, you're more likely going to consume more carbohydrates than fats. It means that you're going to be deficient in fats and you're not going to get the nutrients you need. That's not a bad thing, but that's the trade-off you make to allow yourself to have some of the food that you love. So just bear in mind that as much as we would love to get you on a perfect diet that solves all your problems, that's highly unlikely. And do it almost from like a training perspective, that you progress things gradually over time. So build up your protein bit by bit, build up your fat bit by bit, build up your carbs bit by bit. And then when it comes round to it, you can start to build up a really good standard diet that you can kind of switch in and out. And for example, me and Nick probably have a similar way of doing this, but I have like a set menu, as I like to call it, for the day. And I know if I eat that menu, I'm going to hit the certain amount of calories, macros, and nutrients that I need every single day. If I'm looking to gain weight, I will add an extra snack in there, like a peanut butter bagel. If I want to lose weight, I'll take away, say, like 50 grams of oats. And as soon as it becomes like that, you'll realize dieting is bloody easy.
Yeah. Right, guys. Well, hopefully you took value from this podcast. The whole point is to understand that, yes, you shouldn't necessarily eat clean all the time, but have some flexibility in your life. All right, it's going to help you in your goals. I'm going to wrap up this podcast. Obviously, Dan is normally the person to end this, but I'm going to jump in and say,
go on,
like, subscribe, all that bullshit. If you're listening on Spotify, why are you not reviewing, mate? We've had 36 of you follow us on Spotify, and we've only got 7 reviews, which means 29 of you are slacking. You are slacking. Nice. All you got to do is say 5-star, great listen, bosh, done.
Yeah,
and then we'll mention you in the next one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much. We'll catch you later.
Ciao, ciao.